As we move further into 12.3, we're going to be talking about analyzing data. And so what we've got to talk about is statistics. And so what is statistics? Well, it is the study of data analysis and interpretation. Measures of central tendency that you've probably already learned are the mean, median, and mode. These are probably the three most commonly used to describe data. So the mean is just the average of a data set. You add the numbers and divide by how many you have in the sample, sorry. The median is the very middle data value when the data is in order, either smallest to largest or largest to smallest. The mode is the most repeated data value. You may have one mode, you may have nothing that's repeated, or you may have two modes, two things that are repeated the same number of times. Another useful value is what's called quartiles. In any data set, there are three quartiles, Q1, Q2, and Q3, and they divide the data into four parts. The median is actually Q2. So when you find Q2, that's the same as finding the median. And then quartiles 1 and 3 are the median of their respective parts. So I've got this example here. If we have these numbers of 16 through 30, notice that they are in order from smallest to largest. The median would be the very middle number. That would be 23. So that would actually be your Q2. Now that median, what it does is it separates the data to where we have this lower part, 16 through 22, and we have an upper part, 26 through 30. If we find Q1 and Q3, those are the medians of the lower and upper parts. So Q1 would have to go right between 17 and 19. That average would be 18. Q3 would have to go right between 29 and 29, which of course that average is still 29. And once you know the quartiles, that helps us draw what's called a box and whisker plot. So if we were to take the data from above and the quartiles and the smallest and the largest, the way that you draw a box and whisker plot is you plot the least or the smallest number, which is 16. You plot the largest number, which is 30. Then you plot the quartiles. You have 18, 23, and 29. And around the quartiles, you draw a box, and then with a line through the median. So you've got this box and then what looks like little whiskers on the outside. Now, this is cool, or at least my definition of cool, because you can do it all on the calculator. So you may want to take a moment to look at these steps. So if you want to pause it and just kind of go through the steps, but basically, if you were to go, let's turn to page 664 in your book, page 664, and let's look at number 5. We want to enter all of that into list 1. So the way that we do that is we press stat and we choose number 1, which is edit. And we want to list all of those values into L1. Once you do that, you're going to press second mode and go back to your home screen. From your home screen, press stat right arrow and choose number 1, which is one variable statistics. You want to make sure that your list says L1. If it doesn't say L1, you need to press second 1, and that will put L1 in there. Don't worry about anything else. Arrow down to calculate and press enter. And when you do, a whole bunch of stuff is going to come up on the screen. At the very top, there's an X with a bar over it. We call that X bar, and that's the mean. So that should have given you 128.333. As you scroll down, you'll see all of the quartiles and the median. The only thing that's not really listed is the mode. You just have to find that on your own, so you need to see if anything's repeated. Now if you'll press second Y equals, choose number 1. This is where we're going to draw the box and whisker plot. Highlight on and press enter. And where it says type, go to the 5th graph. Looks like a box and whisker. Highlight it and press enter. Your X list should say L1. Now press zoom and choose 9, and your box and whisker plot should appear. Now, let's keep going. The next couple of things that we want to talk about, again, this is more just like information, but it does have application. If you've ever looked at your achievement test scores, you'll notice what's called an NPR. It stands for the National Percentile Ranking. So let's say that you have an NPR of 85 in math. What that means is that you did better than 85% of the people who took the test, but then 15% did better than you. So how do you find percentiles? Well, what you do is you look for how many data values are less than or equal to the one that you're looking for, and then you divide by the total in the sample. So if we go back to the example from the beginning, right here, the question, and I'll go back in a second, it said to find the percentile for 26. So if you take 26 and all of the numbers that are less than that, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. So we have 6 numbers out of a total of 9 numbers. And when you divide that, that's 66.7, or roughly the 67th percentile. So that's how you find percentiles. Then there's also what's called an outlier. An outlier is a value in a data set that is substantially different from the rest of the data. So if you look at example 6 at the top of page 664, that'll show you. Basically, it would be like, let's say that, you know, maybe there's a test and we don't really do well on it, and most of us get like 60s and 70s, but then there's that one person that gets the 100. That's an outlier because it's different from everything else. All right, so your homework is here on 664. It's just the 4 problems, but it's a lot of calculator work. So just go back to the examples and make sure that you're doing it properly. I'll be on Zoom if you need me.